Hi guys, it's Alexandra here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you my April book haul. So I did order quite a few of these from Amazon, but I also wanted to share the 3 books that I picked up from Book of the Month Club. So let's go ahead and get into this. So the first book that I picked up was Raspberry Danish Murder by Joanne Fluke. This is a cozy mystery in her Hannah Swenson series. I'm not going to say too much about it because it is quite a ways into the series, but it follows Hannah after she has had a major blow to a very important relationship in her life, and she's trying to figure out what all of it means. And then something happens to another person in her life, and she wonders whether the two incidents are related. I love this series. It is my absolute favorite cozy mystery series, followed by the Bake Shop Mysteries by Ellie Alexander. And I've already read this, but I'm trying to collect all of the books and have a physical copy of them, so I wanted to add this to my collection. The next book I picked up was Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. This is the first book in her Keeper of the Lost Cities series. I have already read this, but I read it last summer, and I actually had just picked up a copy from my local library then, and I've fallen in love with the series and wanted to add a copy of this one to my shelf. But this book and this series follows our main character Sophie as she finds out that she is not the average ordinary human girl that she thought she was. She is in fact an elf, and she has to adjust to this new life and a new world with new friends and new rules, and just everything is different for her. And I've spoken highly of this series in the past, but for me, even though this is technically for middle grade readers, the fact that it deals with very important topics such as guilt and loss and friendship and just accepting your talents, I think it's important for all ages to read. It's very accessible for young children, but it's a great reminder for adults too. It's full of wonderful friendships, wonderful relationships, full of action and adventure, and I love it. If you're looking for a fantasy read that's a little lighter, I would suggest that you pick this up. Okay, so the next 2 books that I picked up are the 3rd and 4th books in the Raven cycle. So I picked up Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and The Raven King, so books 3 and 4 in the Raven cycle. I am currently reading book number 2, The Dream Thieves, and it is focused mostly on Ronan, who I've actually really grown to love as a character throughout this second book, and I'm excited to continue on in this series. My favorite way of actually reading these is having the physical copy open, but listening to the audiobook, because the audiobook narrator may not be everybody's taste, but the way that he presents the story and the way that he says things, it really makes me feel like he fits into this story, like he is maybe a Raven boy. And I don't know, I think these books are very atmospheric. They make me feel like I'm in the summer heat, and I'm in all of these kind of interesting situations, like at the barn and at Cave's Water. And I don't know, I really like these stories a lot, and I love listening to the audiobook while following along. It's kind of like somebody's reading the book to me. If you like fantasy but are maybe looking for something that's set more in a more realistic location, someplace that you can imagine yourself being, this is a great series and I would highly recommend it. All right, and then the last books that I picked up from Amazon are all a part of the same series, and they are Shadow of the Fox, Soul of the Sword, and Night of the Dragon. So I am just going to hold up the first book in the series, but Shadow of the Fox, to my knowledge, follows our main character Yumeko, and she is kitsune, which means she's half fox, half human, and she has a huge tragedy happen in her life, and she is forced to flee. And when she flees, she takes part of this ancient scroll with her, and this ancient scroll every so many years grants the holder a wish, and that could be a wish for good or a wish for evil, and she has to join up with another person to protect this scroll from falling into the wrong hands. I don't really know too much more than that, but I do enjoy Julie Kagawa as an author, and I'm excited to read this series. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and I'm excited to jump into it. All right, so the last three books that I have in my April book haul are from Book of the Month. This is only my second month getting this subscription, but basically how it works is each month for $14.99 you get to pick one of the 5 books on their curated list. They span genres from thrillers to nonfiction to basically anything you can think of. Many of them are new releases or early releases, and you can then add on up to 2 books either from that curated list or from their backlog for $9.99, and they're all hardcover versions of it. So the first book that I picked up was Beach Read by Emily Henry. I've already read this and I'm loaning it to my mom so that she can read it too, but this is one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. It is a contemporary romance, and I think the reason that there's so many reasons that I love this. Okay, so the first reason that I love this is that it's set in Michigan, and as a Michigander, I just loved hearing them talking about being on Lake Michigan. It felt very atmospheric to me. I could kind of picture what these beach houses looked like. And then I also love the fact that it was laugh out loud funny while also being incredibly sentimental. I enjoyed every second of this book. So essentially what this is about is you have 2 characters. You have Augustus and you have January, and they're both authors, but they write polar opposite types of work. So Augustus writes literary fiction, and they're very dreary outlooks on life. Lots of characters don't make it. It's just, they're not very happy books. Whereas January writes romance books that almost always have a happy ending. And they end up meeting because they rent beach houses next to each other, and they are bonded over the summer because they make a pact to swap writing roles. January is going to help Augustus learn how to write romance with a happy ending, and Augustus is going to help January learn how to write the next great American novel. I loved this book. If you're looking for something funny and meaningful and just lovely, I would highly suggest picking this up. It definitely, though, is an adult book, so be aware of that. There are some themes that run through it that I wouldn't suggest for younger readers, but it's awesome. My next book of the month pick was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I have already read this and tabbed it up. I really ended up enjoying this. It is a thriller. It's very different than what I would normally read, but essentially it takes place on an island off of the coast of Ireland, and there's this high to-do wedding that is taking place on the island, and everything seems wonderful. That is until the night of the wedding, one of the guests ends up dead. And it is a multi-perspective book. You get the perspective of the wedding planner, the bridesmaid, the bride, the groomsmen, and the best man and the +1, which is on the back. That's what I'm referencing. So you get several different viewpoints, and I think my favorite things about this were the fact that it was super fast paced. I felt like I was on this island off the coast of Ireland, and I kept, the author really kept me guessing. At the end of every chapter, I kept thinking, oh, I think that it's this person, or oh, that must connect to something else. But I was still shocked at the ending. It was definitely not what I expected it to be, and that's exactly what I want from a mystery thriller. So if you're looking for that, I would suggest picking this up. I don't think it's out yet, just like I don't think Beach Reads is out yet. But do be aware, especially with this one, that this is very much an adult book. It deals with some very hard to talk about topics, everything from abortion to self-harm, and it's not always the easiest to read because these characters are dealing with those topics. However, as a person who doesn't like to read about those things, I was still able to get through the story, and they were definitely meaningful to the plot of the story, which I think helped me through it. But just be aware that this is definitely not for young readers, and definitely not for somebody who was looking for a light, fluffy mystery. It's not that, but it is really, really good. All right, so my last book in this haul is The Library of Legends by Jenny Chang. I don't know a ton about this other than it is historical fantasy. So it's set in China in the 1930s when the Japanese begin to bomb the country, and these school children are forced to flee. And when they flee, they are given possession of something called a Library of Legends, which it holds many myths and folklore, and they're asked to protect it. And I really don't know too much more about the story than that, but I love that, learning about that time period in history, and I enjoy fantasy novels, so I thought that this could be very interesting to pick up, and not like anything that I've really read before. It sounds very different, so I'm excited to eventually get to this and see what I think. I'll have to let you guys know. Alrighty guys, so that is my April book haul. I hope that you enjoyed. I will be coming at you with a book unhaul here pretty shortly. I placed this order knowing that I was going to be cleaning off my shelves, so stay tuned for that. I will also make sure that I have a wrap up at the end of the month, letting you know my thoughts and feelings on any of these books that I've gotten to by that point, as well as any from my original April through June TBR. I hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of the day. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye.